each year you get better and better. There's certain things that you can do if you want to keep the same character. I'm not making any sense. I'm trying to figure out what to tell you about this book, because there's a lot about this book that's not in the synopsis that I wouldn't consider spoilers, but I said spoilers. Really weird. It's really easy to dive into. The world is not too complicated. I mean, there's there's a lot of world building that happens. We're gonna try that part again. And then, like, I followed it up with one that I didn't think I was gonna love as much as I did. So, like, we're winning over here. Winner. Chicken dinner. I'm not allowed to be out in public. Hi everybody, my name is Kelsey, and we're about to get very, very nerdy with Magical Readathon. So today is the 1st of April, which means it's day 1 of Magical Readathon, which I am very excited about, has come back. G over at Book Roast, who's the one that created this, I will leave her announcement video down below if you'd like to check out more information about it. She did this a while ago, and she has kind of revamped it in the last year or so. And I'm so excited because it sounds incredible. So the idea behind this is that you are basically going to a magical school. One that she has created called Aurelium. It floats in the sky on rocks. It's pretty freaking cool, to be honest. And based on whatever career that you would like to choose, you kind of create your own character. And based on a career, which is an entire packet that she's got in her video, like, she has put so much work into it. Like, it's incredible. But based on the career that you choose, there are specific classes that you need to take. So there are 14 classes offered in the spring semester, aka April, and based on your career, you have so many that you need. I have 6 that I need to do based on my career, and then in August, which is the fall equinox semester, you take, like, exams for those classes, and it's a revamped version of the one that we had before. So let me pull it up. I have a fancy little, like, book that I have kind of created into, like, my bullet journal for specifically the Magical Readathon. I'm very excited about it. So I have done, hold on, where is it? There it is. I am going to be Master of Elements. Here's my page. I'm pretty proud of it. Isn't it cute? That's the school, by the way. It's floating on rocks. But I'm going to be Master of Elements, and so for the spring equinox semester, there are 6 classes, like I mentioned, that I need to take. So I talked about them in my TBR, so I'll leave all of that linked down below. But my plan is to get through those 6 first, obviously, and then try to continue with other things that I have on my TBR that fit on this TBR, because my TBR game was very mean to me. So a couple of those are ones that I want to get to right away, so I'm very excited. So if you've been around for a while, seen some of these vlogs that I do, I usually try to have both a physical and an audiobook going at the same time. Looking at the list of books that I have, there's only one book that I cannot find on audio anywhere, which is incredible. That's great, because I'm such a slow reader, and honestly, audiobooks are how I get anything done. But that book that I'm going to start physically is Dial A for Aunties, and this is by Jessie Q. Sutano, and this one is for Conjuration, which is a source of light on the cover. We've got a chandelier right there. I've actually pre-ordered the sequel to this one, which I'm pretty sure is currently in my mailbox. I wanted to read this one before the sequel got here, and that's not going to happen. But I've had this on my TBR for quite a while, but the idea behind this is you've got Madeline Chin, I believe is how you pronounce it. I'm sure I'm wrong. But she goes on a blind date and something terrible happens and her blind date ends up dead. So she calls her 4 aunties to help, and they somehow hide the body, but then they end up going to this wedding at a California island resort, and the body shows up in the cake cooler, and so they're trying to figure out a way to figure that out. And then also, like, her long lost love or something, someone she's got an attraction to from her past, shows up at this wedding. So it seems like it's going to be a romance of sorts, but I I don't know what's going to happen. It says right here on the top, what happens when you mix one accidental murder with 2,000 wedding guests and then toss in a possible curse on 3 generations of immigrant Chinese Indonesian family. You get 4 meddling Asian aunties coming to the rescue. So I'm really excited about that one. So that's my physical read that I'm hoping to get to start today. And then the audiobook that I'm going to listen to is going to be From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the first in that trilogy. Well, actually, there's more now. I only have 3, but there's at least 4 out. These are my beautiful Fairy Loot editions that I will take the cover off of at some point. And this one is for the prompt of astronomy, which is the top of your TBR. And this one definitely is. I don't know, all of a sudden I just had this urge to pick it up. I've heard a lot of people who really enjoy ACOTAR like this, and I'm just super curious about that because there's a giant question mark and kind of just about this book. So we follow Poppy, who is a maiden. Being a maiden basically means, where is it? The life of the maiden is solitary, never to be touched, never to be looked upon, never to be spoken to, never to experience pleasure. Waiting for the day of ascension, whatever that is. And so Poppy is this person, and then she does end up getting a new bodyguard named Hawk, and I think that there's a lot of attraction between the two of them. And whatever the fantastical elements in this, I don't know what they are. I have suspicions, but I'm not sure what they are. Because a lot of people who have reviewed this book don't say them because they consider them to be kind of like a pretty big spoiler for the end of the book. Whatever this fantastical thing, world, magic system, whatever it is, we don't know. But again, I've heard incredible things about this. I want to get to know Poppy and Hawk a little bit more. So this one I've got on Audible, I believe. So we're going to dive into this one as well. So these are the 2 that are going to start off my readathon, a fantasy and a contemporary. I'm very excited. And I will take you along for the week. I don't have anything particularly exciting going on this weekend / the next week. So maybe, hopefully, lots of listening I can do next week to get some of these out of the way. But these are the 2 that we're starting with. Very, very different, but I am very excited about them. Hello friends, I hope you can hear me. I don't have my mic or anything, so I hope it's okay. I've been sitting here in the car. My husband's doing some reffing for a soccer game, and it's too cold, so now I'm inside. But I've been reading From Blood and Ash for the past, I got a couple of chapters done yesterday. It's the 2nd now, and I'd got a few more, so now I'm just about somewhere on chapter 5. So I am about a little over 50 pages into this book, and I am utterly obsessed with this. Like, from the second, there was something in the first chapter that was already a, like, drop jaw, shocking kind of moment, and I'm obsessed with this book already, and, like, I'm not even that far into it. It's not too complicated to get into, which I appreciate. There's a lot of world building that has happened in, like, a couple of chapters just to kind of, like, set the stage for everything, but it's not too much. And it's not overcomplicated. Like, I know a lot of people who like have, for example, read Crescent City. The first like 50 to 100, well, maybe the first 100 pages or so are really dense in world building because it's such a specific world, so like you kind of have to get through 100 pages of that book for it to actually start making sense. Whereas with this one, I'm immediately hooked, and I'm not even kidding you when I say I'm obsessed. Like, I brought my other like physical book with me, the Dial A book, and I haven't even touched it because I don't want to. I want to keep reading From Blood and Ash. So this was a fantastic decision to pick up first. Also, isn't this edition under the hardcover just like, or under the dust jacket, just like stunning? I'm obsessed with them. I'm so happy that this is the first one that I've started, and I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. Since I've come and actually talked to you, and I have a mini an update. So this might be a little bit of a bigger update than usual, because since I've talked to you last, I have finished 2 books, started a 3rd, and have more plans for the next couple of days. But I finished From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the first in the Blood and Ash series. I have all three, well, the first three, there is a fourth one now, over there. And this is my new obsession. Like, when I came to you after reading 50 pages of this and had, like, a lot of feelings, those didn't go away. I, like, devoured this book in, like, a day and a half, I want to say, maybe more than that. So I obviously gave it 5 stars. I mean, are we at all surprised? So this has completely and utterly consumed my soul. I understand people who say that if you like ACOTAR, you like this. I'm not quite sure what it is about it. Maybe the fantasy romance aspects to it. Maybe the fact that it's more new adult than YA, even though I'm pretty sure it's marketed as YA. It's very much not YA. I'd say it's new adult, which is kind of what ACOTAR was marketed as, or should be, is now kind of that kind of thing. But it's just, I don't know, the vibes and how much I was utterly consumed by this story is very reminiscent to my experience with the ACOTAR series. I'm trying to see if I can fit the second one on here. I think I found a way, because there are these like extra add-on prompts that you can get. They're called like adventures, and G posts them on her Twitter as well as the Discord for the Aurelium Readathon, which I don't really use Discord very often, so I go for Twitter. And there are some that like you can grab, and there's only a very specific amount of people who can do them, like 10, 15, and they get you some certain points for like specific things. And then she posted a couple the other day that were just like general, anybody can do them. And one of them is a 5-star prediction, so it's like just an extra prompt that you can add on if you want to, and it gets you points. So probably going to be reading the second one, fingers crossed, sometime in the coming weeks. I'm thinking maybe next week, maybe the week after. I haven't fully decided yet. But I am obsessed with this book. Like, all I want to do is talk to people about this book, and I don't really have anyone to talk to about it. I mean, I've got a couple. I do have a couple. So if you've read this book, let me know. Hit me up on the Instagram or whatever. Like, let's have a conversation. I'm obsessed. And so, yeah, I have not a whole lot to say about this, just because, like, I was constantly on the edge of my seat. I was very much a ball of stress and anxiety. But, like, the good kind of stress and anxiety, I'm not even sure if that makes any sense. But, like, you know, the good kind where you're, like, on the edge of your seat and you just can't, like, you don't want to do anything but read because you're so stressed and you care so badly for these characters, even though you haven't known them for very long. That was my experience reading this, and I loved it. So, I finished this one my very first read of the month, and I'm going to probably devour the series, at least what's out, very, very quickly, because obsessed. That's me. So yes, 5 stars, absolutely loved it. I'm looking at my notes to see if there's anything else I want to say, but I think I covered everything. So yes, first read has been done. So then I went ahead and I was like, I'm going to pick up something else, but I didn't want to pick up something that I like knew I was going to love, but coming after From Blood and Ash, I probably wasn't going to love, so I didn't want to pick up any romances or anything like that. So I decided to pick up one that I wasn't sure about. Oh crap, hold on. What did I do with the cover? So I ended up picking up Only a Monster by Vanessa Lynn. This is my beautiful Fairy Loot edition, but this was for the prompt, the Shapeshifting class, which was a creature with claws on the cover. So this Griffin Lion thing kind of has claws, so that's what I did this for. And I didn't really know what I was expecting going into this, so did this suffer a little bit from coming after From Blood and Ash? Maybe the tiniest bit, but I still gave it 4 stars. I actually really enjoyed my time. I was going into it with not a lot of expectation, because me and like YA fantasy and YA contemporary right now are kind of like, it's a hit or miss for me, so I was really hesitant about what I was going to think, and I actually ended up loving this. I'm not sure what to tell you about this book and how to describe it, because like there's a lot about this book that's not in the like synopsis that I wouldn't consider a spoiler, but I don't want to say it just in case. But basically follow our main character Joan. She's in London. This entire book takes place in London, which is kind of cool. A lot of cool accents that were in the audiobook that I listened to. We have Joan, and she is visiting her I believe it is her mom's side of the family. She does this, I think, almost every single summer. And while she's there, she's working at what's called the Holland House. It's a very historic Victorian style house that I believe was turned into like a museum. And so she works there, and there's this guy named Nick that she's had this crush on for a long time. And the book starts with her going out to get coffee with him as kind of like a first date for the two of them. And then through a series of events, she discovers that she comes from a family of monsters. And this Nick guy is a monster hunter. And so there's a lot that goes into this. It's very action-packed. There's nothing specific about this that reminds me of like Cassie Clare's kind of Mortal Instrument series. I don't know what it is, but there's something about this. Maybe the, you know, having magical powers or this magicalness that's taking place in a very modern setting, kind of like meshing the human world with this monster world. Maybe that's what it reminds me of Cassie Clare's books, but I think if you're like a Cassie Clare fan, I think you'd really enjoy this. And I really liked it. Like I said, I gave it 4 stars. I wasn't expecting a whole lot from it when I first started, but I ended up really liking it. Did it suffer a little bit from coming after From Blood and Ash? Maybe a little bit, because I wasn't really giving it my full attention until about halfway through. But the kind of power that comes from being a monster, because there's a specific thing that all the monsters can do, and then each monster family has a specific power for that family on top of it. But the thing that makes them monsters is a very fascinating thing. And it's not in the synopsis, so I don't want to say anything just in case it spoils anything for anybody, or anybody, you know, would like to not know. But it's very interesting, because it's a very, I mean, I don't know how to feel about it, because it's a really cool power, but at the same time, you understand why they're considered monsters because of this power, and so it's just a fascinating. I really want to know where this author came up with this idea. That's really what I want to know. But I really enjoyed it. It definitely didn't leave off on a cliffhanger, even though there are 2 more planned in the series, so it's definitely a good one that if you liked the first one and you're good to go, then you don't have to continue with them. I'm waiting to see what the second one's going to be about, because this one came out this year, so we don't even have a synopsis yet for the second one, which will come out sometime next year. So I'm going to wait on a synopsis for that to see where we could go, because like I feel like this has a very satisfying ending, but not everything is, you know, tied in a nice little bow, so I could see there's been room left to continue, which is a common thread and common theme, I think, for first books and series, is to kind of give it an ending, just in case there's no more. But according to Goodreads, there is 2 more planned for this series, and I really, really liked it. I don't know why I was so surprised as to why I liked it, but I did. So yes, I gave this 4 stars, and I checked another one off my list. I actually finished this one today at work. I only had like an hour of the audiobook left, so I went ahead and finished it, and I really liked it. I think it's, I don't know, like I haven't heard anyone really talk about this, so I'm not sure if it's because it's not very well known. Also, I'm pretty sure this author's debut novel, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so like the fact that this is a debut, like it didn't feel like a debut to me at all. Like there's nothing about the writing that made it feel new-ish, and like, you know that feeling of like when you read a debut and you can tell it's a debut? I didn't have any of those feelings. So I very, very much enjoyed it. I'm very glad to get a, you know, book that came in a subscription box. And actually this one came in like, I think January's box this year. So I even read it the year I got it. Like, what is happening? But yeah, there's a lot about this fantasy world that is very interesting to me. And I'm very curious to see where we go in the future with this series. So those are the 2 books that I've actually finished. I haven't even started Dial A for Aunties yet. I need to. I'm probably going to sit down tonight at some point. We'll see. I feel like my husband has a soccer game that's playing, I think. So maybe we'll read a little bit during that. But I have actually started The Heiress, which is by Molly, I forgot her last name. It starts with a G. Molly Greeley. So this is for Restoration, which is a book featuring healers. And this follows Andaberg, who is a pretty minor character in Pride and Prejudice. I mean, she plays a role, but like, she doesn't actually say anything. We don't get a whole lot of character development from her. So this one is supposed to be following her. And she's grown up sickly. Like in Pride and Prejudice, she is thought to be very, very sickly. And so her mom doesn't really want her to go out and do anything, and kind of like takes care of her, but like over takes care of her and doesn't let her do anything. And I've always imagined that Anne didn't like that and was more capable than her mom was letting her be. And so that's what the vibes that I get from this book, is that Anne's not actually ill, but she's been given a laudanum for most of her life, and so there's going to be probably a ton of healers because people think that she is ill. I did go on Goodreads to kind of get an idea of like what the best genre this would be in, and it is historical fiction, but there's also, it looks like it's also an LGBTQ plus book, so I'm wondering if there's going to be a female-female relationship between Anne and somebody else. I'm very interested in this. So I literally just started it. I'm minutes into it. Barely made any kind of dent. I have this on Audible, but I do have the ebook on Scribd, so I'm hopefully going to follow along that way if I need to, but I don't have it physically, which is fine unless I love it, and then we'll, you know, pick it up. But I'm very excited about this one. You guys know I love Pride and Prejudice and anything based on it, and this is the first book that I've read that is anything to do with the character of Anne. So I'm very interested to see this person's take on it. So I have started that one. I'm also tomorrow at some point going to start Do You Want to Start a Scandal by Tessa Dare. I am very excited about it. This is my buddy read that I do every single month, and this one is the last book in the Spindle Cove series. There's technically on Goodreads a novella that comes after this one, but I haven't been able to find it anywhere, so I'm pretty sure it's not actually out yet. But this one follows our main character, Charlotte Highwood, and there's someone who had a scandalous tryst in the library at a specific ball, and people think it's her, and so she teams up with this rake to kind of prove it wasn't her, and then the two of them start to fall for each other. When I originally did my TBR, I said this one was going to be for, I believe it was Animal Studies, yes, which was a quick read, and while I do think this is for sure going to be a quick read, it's not going to be as quick as another one, so I'm going to replace a different historical romance with that prompt, and then this one's actually going to be for the prompt of Art of Illusion, which is a book with a trope you like, and I'm pretty sure this is going to have hate to love. So, or Forced Proximity, I think is also probably going to be in here as well. So I will be starting this one tomorrow sometime, because Buddy Read is going to be starting tomorrow, and that's what I've got. I'll come back to you probably tomorrow afternoon when I get off work, just to kind of wrap up where we're at with this week. But I've read 2 books so far, so I'm quite happy with how that has gone, and I'll come back to you when I have more thoughts. But a really good start to the month so far. I mean, when I started with this one, which is now one of my favorites, you can't go wrong. Hello, friends. Welcome. Well, you haven't gone anywhere. I've gone someplace. Words are hard. Hello. It's been a day. It is now Friday afternoon-ish. What time is it? It is like 4. Yeah, 4:30. I just got home from work, and I thought I'd just go ahead and kind of wrap up this vlog here, because there's not really a whole lot that I'm going to be reading for the rest of the night. We do have plans to play a game virtually with a couple of our friends, so that'll be taking place relatively soon. And so I'm not quite sure what actual reading I'm going to get done. But I do have a little bit of an update. I've made some pretty good progress on The Heiress. I haven't quite finished it yet. I am, according to my audiobook, I'm about a couple hours left in it, so I'm not quite sure percentage-wise where that is, but I'd say like maybe closer to 60 to 75%. So just a couple more hours, I think I'll be able to finish this maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, but I have been really enjoying it. It is written in such a fascinating way. So this one, I think I mentioned a little bit when I told you I was starting it, that this one follows Anne de Berg, and so her entire story is basically, she was very sickly when she was younger, she wouldn't stop crying, her mom went to the doctor prescribed laudanum, and she got addicted to it. So they think that she's really, really ill without it, and it's really just a dependency on it. It does somewhat take place before and during the times of Pride and Prejudice, but most of it takes place after the events of Pride and Prejudice, and they're not a huge factor in the story, obviously, because we're following Anne. And so it's really kind of cool to have these throwaway lines, like where she meets Mr. Collins for the first time, or where she meets Elizabeth Bennet for the first time. It's just kind of this very throwaway line that means nothing to her, but, you know, us readers who love Pride and Prejudice, we are like, oh, that's really funny. But I've really enjoyed it. It's mostly following her and like just her coming into her own and figuring out who she is as a person. And I think the writing is so fascinating because it has this very lyricalness to it, in a sense of like, it gives it that old-timey feel without it being very stuffy writing. So like things are kind of mentioned very, very differently, and very like almost like a poetic writer, almost kind of looking at the world, because you're seeing it through Anne's eyes, and Anne has a very different way of looking at things. It's a very young way of looking at things, but also because her, you know, her mind has been controlled. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like with her being kind of under the influence of laudanum for so long, she has this very lethargic outlook on life, and because of that, it's a very interesting way that she describes things that, like, I would have never thought of half of the things that she describes things as, but it also kind of like, you're reading and you're like, that's exactly what that is like. So it's very fascinating, and I think because it's so poetic and so lyrical that it gives it that kind of classic feel to it. So it still feels like a historical fiction. It still feels like something that takes place during one of Jane Austen's books, but it is a significantly more modernized actual language. So I think that's really fascinating. Just her writing, I think, works really well for historical fictions and things like that. So I have been really, really enjoying it. There's definitely been a couple of moments in it where I'm just like on the edge of my seat, what is happening? And then there's definitely some moments where it's just a lot of her just sitting around telling you things that she is somewhat there for, which can kind of get boring. Now, once you get about, I'd say 25 to 30% of the way through the book, things start happening, and so then it starts to pick up. But that beginning is a little hard to get through. But I've really enjoyed it. I think whoever the narrator is that I have is fantastic. So not only is the narration really good, I think the writing for this book is just incredible. And I'm really curious to see where we go, because there is somewhat of an LGBTQ plus twist to it. No, I mean, it's not outright, but I can definitely see Anne thinking things about women that you may not at this time was considered correct way of thinking. And she's just very, very observant. And just her descriptions of people, specifically like the female friendships that she creates and the people in her life, I just find that really fascinating. So it's been an incredible time. I've had an incredible time reading it. So that's my biggest update. I'm really close to that. I did technically start Dial A for Aunties, but I read like the prologue, which is like a whole 4 pages into it or something. Although I will say, I'm not a huge person who focuses on first lines in books, and this one really stuck out to me because, let me see if I can find it. There it is. The first line says, "There is a curse in my family." What? And so I've read, like I said, the prologue. It kind of sets up this curse, and the curse in the family is basically like the men all leave And so I think it used to be the men all die and then they come to the US, and then when they get here, it's the men just leave. So that's really all we know. We haven't even started the actual plot yet, but I'm already interested in it. Like I said, great first line, definitely hooked me in. I have, like, it's gonna be interesting, I think. But yeah, I have made, like, almost no progress. So we'll see if I get any of this done tonight. That would be lovely, because I think it's gonna be great. I just haven't, you know, I just haven't made time for that. So we will. We'll make time for this next week. So I think that's really all I've got. I did finish 2 books this week, which new favorite with From Blood and Ash, and then Only a Monster is not a new favorite, but definitely a new book that I really, really enjoy. Like, the more I think about it, having finished it, the more I like it. So it just barely scraped 4 stars when I actually rated it. And the more I think about it, the more it is a solid 4-star read. So I finished 2 fantasy books with absolutely stunning covers, by the way. And also, like, look at that. Oh, I finished some very pretty books this month, or this week. But yeah, so great start with a 5 and a 4-star. I think I'll have quite a few more done next week, because I will probably finish The Heiress right away. I'm planning on starting that Tessa Dare book as well, which will probably finish in a day or 2. And then beyond that, I think there's like maybe one or 2 more books, I think, that are part of the like 6 that I need to finish to complete my career, so that I can start diving into some of the other things that are on this list and some other classes as well. So I'm excited to see where we continue with this, but that's all I've got for you guys as far as the first week goes. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you're participating, or if you're not, kind of what your reading has been the first week of April. I would love to know what you have accomplished so far. If you accomplished anything. If not, that's totally fine. Tell me what you're currently reading. I'd love to know that as well. And if you'd like to say something, comment something, but you're not sure what to comment, comment like, what should we comment? Comment like the clock for Only a Monster. There's a clock on there. So comment a clock. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there, as well as other fun bookish links, so don't forget to check all of that out, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!